Okay, guys, so we've done it. We've hit the end of 2022. It's time for that year-end list of, films that we talk about, whether it be in the worst or the best. Today, we're going to, of course, talk about the worst films of 2022. And yeah, this is a very interesting list to compile because it's not what I would consider my favorite list to do because I like to talk about the good of cinema. I don't like to talk about the bad. But I am a film reviewer. I am a film critic. So, well, it is what it is. So, with that said, it's been a year of some definitely pretty bad films, to be fairly honest. It's no different than any other year. But this list that I compiled is, I'm sure, some will be on some other people's lists, some films you may not have seen. But it's a year that I found more good than bad, to be fairly honest. When you go to my best of list, which will premiere tomorrow. And without further ado, let's talk about some worst films or some bad films of 2022, and let's do some honorable mentions. And those are okay. So 3 honorable mentions. Like I said, I think the best were actually outweighs the worst of 2022. But the 3 films I have as my honorable mentions that actually didn't make my top 10 because I feel those films are a little worse than these 3 films. The first one is Easter Sunday. Of course, I know people are fans of Joy Coy. I know they love his comedic material, which is fine. It doesn't make for a good movie. I got a lot of flack for this, which fine, whatever. But it's just not. It's just not a great movie. It really isn't. Another one, of course, is The Whale, which I just reviewed. I expected way more. When the only really good thing about it is Brendan Fraser, and he's really good in it. You have a problematic movie, and this is another Darren Aronofsky film that I feel is just I don't know what's going on. So that's that. But another film that actually didn't make my top 10, but it would have if it had been a different year, is, of course, Morbius. This is a travesty of a comic book film, but it literally is not the worst film I saw this year. There is some fun to be had, for better or worse, so take that for what it's worth. But those are, of course, my honorable mentions. They're still really bad films. I still don't recommend them. And with that said, let's head into number 10, which is... So I have to make a correction. Number 10 is a movie that I saw that I didn't realize that Mel Brooks gave his approval for to do a Blazing Saddles reboot or remake or kind of homage. And that, of course, is Paws of Fury. It still isn't a good film. It's actually kind of a travesty for a kid's film, kind of a insult, I guess you could say. And it really shows. You can really tell in its kind of story making. You could tell this went through many, many hands. And I just feel like it's just kind of one of those typical kids films that comes out every year to make money, for better or worse. And it didn't make any money. It was not very well received, and proves to be one of the worst films of the year for the reason. And this year was a pretty interesting year for animated films. There was a lot of good ones, but there's also a lot of bad ones. So at number 10, we have Paws of Fury, and at number 9, we have... So the 355, directed by Simon Kinberg. I talk about him a lot because he disappoints me so many times. I think he's a very talented writer, but not a very good director. It's the first film I think to come out this year. It wasn't very good. Actually, it was pretty terrible. One of the worst films I saw this year. Has a great stacked cast, and they just couldn't deliver at all. It was so forgettable that it actually, I think, left theaters like 3 weeks after it premiered. And I don't know. When you have like Jessica Chastain and people like that in your movie, and you can't even produce a good movie, you have a problem. I mean, it's not number 1 on this list, but it's in my top worst of all time, or worst of the year, for a reason. And yeah, so at number 9 is the 355, a complete travesty of a film. And number 8 is so number 8, of course, is Minions: The Rise of Gru. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of this franchise anymore. I think the Minions movies are terrible. I think they're cash grabs, which, is expected to be when you're a billion-dollar franchise. I think this franchise has run out of steam a long time ago, maybe since the second movie. And it's a franchise, especially with this movie, where I felt insulted by watching it. I know people like this movie. I understand it. But you're insulting my intelligence by making this type of movie. And I couldn't believe what I was watching, to be fairly honest. I was so baffled, to be fairly honest. It was so bad, but it's not the worst I've seen this year when it comes to animated films, but it's pretty bad for a film, for a big budget film. And I think this franchise should die, but it's not going to because it makes billions of dollars. So with that said, Despicable Me 4 is coming soon. So there you go. Number 8 is Minions: The Rise of Gru, and at number 7 is So this is the worst animated film I saw this year. This movie is so bad that it only took less than a month to come to Disney Plus, and that of course is Strange World. This movie is insulting for even insulting sakes. I don't know what they were thinking. This feels like a Bob Chapek move to try and get in with the audiences and stuff like that. When it comes to like LGBTQ, when it comes to mixed race relationships, when it comes to just like being of equal value. I'm fine with all that, but when you're so blatantly like obvious about it, that it actually kind of ruins the movie a little bit. And I gotta say right now, I don't hate the fact that they made this movie. I hate the fact that it feels so cheaply done. It feels so like it feels like a weekend movie that the directors, who one of them actually worked on Ride of the Last Dragon, which I really liked, and just completely didn't know what to do with it. Like it is a very standard by the book type of movie. It's a very, it's a very like poorly looking done movie. Everything looks bland. It just is not a Disney movie. This feels like early Disney, like animated films back in like the I don't know, Chicken Little or Home on the Range, more than what they put out recently. I'll even give Frozen 2 more credit than this movie because this movie's just bad. It's not even worth watching. I don't recommend it at all. So with that said, that is my number 7 and worst animated movie of the year, which leads us into number 6, which is. So at this point, Judd Apatow, I've just come to the conclusion is not a very good director. He did 40-Year-Old Virgin, which is fantastic, one of the best comedies of the last 20 years. He also did Knocked Up, which was really good. And then he came out with Funny People, and This Is 40, and whatever else he's done since. And he did a movie for Netflix called The Bubble, which should have been a home run with the cast that it has, including people like David Duchovny and Karen Gillan and Keegan-Michael Key. And yeah, I don't know what happened with this film. It's travesty. It's not funny. It's long. It's overwrought. It's supposed to make fun of Hollywood, but it doesn't do a very good job of it. And I just feel like it's a film that completely just doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know how to deliver on the premise that it's premising. And yeah, for a film that's directed by Judd Apatow, I don't know what was going on in this film. And yeah, it's pretty bad. It's a complete travesty of a film, and deserves to be in the worst of the year list, which it will be on many other people's lists. So number 6 is of course The Bubble, and at number 5 we have. Sometimes you just should let the franchise die after the first film. I said that a long time ago. I mean, Jurassic Park 3 is fine for what it's worth, but this Jurassic World franchise, the first one, I guess you could do Force Awakens where it was a little bit of nostalgia, but this franchise is completely gone. It's dead. I don't even know what to think anymore, because Jurassic World Dominion, like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, is baffling to watch. It doesn't make any sense. It feels like a tepid response to trying to make a franchise good again. You bring back 3 of the iconic actors from the first movie, who have all been like different forms of the franchise to begin with, and you can't even do anything good with them. Jeff Goldblum's completely sidelined in this movie. Laura Dern and Sam Neill have like the worst subplot I've ever seen, and it's once again proves that Colin Trevorrow needs to like not do these franchise movies anymore. Go back to like, low budget, except for Book of Henry, which was terrible. But this movie's just bad. It doesn't make any sense. It has bugs in it, which doesn't make any sense, like locusts. I don't know. I don't want to keep complaining, but as you see from my review, this is a really bad movie. So number 5 is Jurassic World Dominion. I hope they stop making these movies, but they won't. So with that said, number 5 is Jurassic World Dominion, and number 4 is so another rebooted third film in the franchise. I was so excited when this first film was announced. I was so excited that David Gordon Green was going to direct it. Jamie Lee Curtis was brought back. She was going to have some kind of new arc to her story with Michael Myers. And then the first one came out, which was fine for what it's worth. I still don't understand the idea behind Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode character. The second one was an absolute travesty of a film. It made no sense. But compared to this film, Halloween Ends, that's actually a masterpiece. Halloween Ends it doesn't make any logical sense. I still don't know what David Gordon Green was thinking. I don't know what his logic and reasoning were. And this movie is baffling. It really is. It goes to places that he decided that people are going to just have to deal with and live with. And I sometimes you got to wonder if people are just like too up their own butt, to be fairly honest, to make movies And I'm not saying David Gordon Green is not a talented director, because he is, but he's getting ready to do the Exorcist prequel and or Exorcist sequel of Ellen Burstyn, and I worry he's going to ruin that franchise as well. So I mean, that franchise already has like 18,000 sequels, anyways. Yeah, this movie was garbage. It really was. It was so bad, and I hate the fact that it's like one of my favorite horror franchises that just completely shit the bed. So, with that said, that is at number 4, which is Halloween Ends, and number 3 is. So I hate to be that guy that craps on an actress or actor, because they really do more than I do. I just review movies, but Ruby Rose has seemingly coming out with a film every year that I put on my worst of the year list. That one year with Morgan Freeman was my worst film of the year, and this film, Stowaway, which premiered on AMC Plus, had Frank Grillo in it. It's baffling. I don't know. It's one of the worst films I saw this year. It's actually going to be my number 1 until I saw these 2 other films, and it's. I don't know. There's no plot. There's no reason. There's no logic. So number 3 is Stowaway. It's really bad. And number 2 is. So number 2 is a film that I saw at the beginning of the year. I was given a screener for it, which I always appreciate when I get screeners for films. But Vanessa Kirby had just recently got a nomination for an Oscar, and I expected a lot more out of her than what we got in this film. This feels like when Cuba Gooding Jr. won an Oscar and then did like Snow Dogs or whatever he did after that. Italian Studies is a film that nobody's probably ever seen or heard of. Most people haven't. I know some people who do like this film, but I don't understand what this film is even about. This film has so many illogical reasonings and ideas and concepts that it almost feels like it's an insult to your intelligence. It doesn't go anywhere. There's no kind of story-driven pattern to this movie, which I don't understand what they were thinking with that. And it's just not a very good film. It doesn't have any concept or ideas. And I think Vanessa Kirby, who's trying in this movie, I gave her credit, is doing better than what Ruby Rose did in Stowaway, is completely not devoid of any interest in this movie. And I just felt the movie was just kind of complete waste of time, that for like 85 minutes just kind of went off the rails, and it was just a very bad movie. It really was one of the worst movies that I saw this year. I mean, I saw it back in January, and it still sticks with me as one of the worst films I've seen this year. And yeah, it's bad. So with that said, that is at number 2. And number 1 should be no surprise if you've seen my rant video for this movie. So number 1, of course, is Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio. Oh, Disney, stop making live action films. You're ruining your whole entire catalog by doing these films. It's a reason this movie was on Disney Plus. It's a reason this movie was heralded as one of the worst of the films of the year. I can't believe Tom Hanks agreed to this. I can't believe they agreed to do this film. And the movie is insulting. It's one of the worst films I've seen this decade, to be fairly honest. I know we're in 2022, but there is enough to be said that this film doesn't deserve the celluloid or the digital filmmaking that Robert Zemeckis puts on screen. And he just did another really bad film called The Witches, which was another remake of a property that we've seen as kids, I guess you could say. And it's just a film that really insults my intelligence. I think the fact that Pinocchio reaches down and touches poop, I think the fact that he looks really creepy. I think the fact that Jiminy Cricket, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's trying, but he just can't get anything out of him. I think the ending is absolutely just kind of mind-boggling how bad it is. Everything about this movie is bad. It's the reason it's my worst of the year, because it's so insulting of your intelligence. There's no reason this movie should be this bad, but I don't know. Robert Zemeckis has proven with like animated material that he's really good at filming, but he's just not really good at storytelling. So with that said, that is the worst film of 2022. It is Pinocchio. So with that said, that'll do it. That'll be my take on the worst of 2022. I was hoping for better when it came to like Pinocchio and stuff like that, but as we've seen, films it's just that what happens in a year. You get some really bad films, you get some really good films, and it's what makes film and film watching very much fun, because you never know what you're going to get. And unfortunately, these are films that I felt like were wasting my time a little bit. So some I predicted, some I didn't expect. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching my worst of 2022 for film and movies. Comments below. As I always say, let me know what your worst of the year list was. Like, what films did you really not like? If there's a film that I really like that you didn't, it's perfectly all right. It happens, it is what it is. But otherwise, thank you so much. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys for the best of 2022. Peace out, guys.